Lifestyle with Substance. Today I am here with my brother Riordan and we are going to do our favourite books video. So we're going to take you through some of the books that we've been reading either this year or last year or years and years ago, and just tell you a bit about why we like them and make some recommendations. So if you like the sound of that and you want to get your book game up, then please keep watching. Right, okay, so basically I've been trying to get my brother on my YouTube channel for a while because I think he is quite intelligent, and he reads a lot. He's very knowledgeable on a bunch of different topics, and I wanted to bring something different to my channel. I talk about fashion, makeup, beauty, lifestyle stuff. Yeah, exactly. There's some substance stuff there, but I don't talk about books enough, and I have been reading a lot more this year. So without further ado, we're just going to get started and talk about some of our favourite books. Now I think Riordan has a few more than me. Some of mine are iBooks or ebooks, as in I bought them on the iBooks app on my iPhone, so not all of them are here in the physical flesh. So as my guest, you can get started.
Yes. I'll start with the first book I ever bought myself. This book's called When We Ruled, and in short it's Black history, but we don't start at like the slave trade or colonialism in this book. We start from 4000 BC or so. Robin Walker is the author. He's a British author, so it's this is quite a popular book. Anyone that's into African history, this is a seminal text, I'd say. But this book, for me, this was an interesting read because I'd say more than learning about my history, this book taught me how to read. Because one, it taught me that reading isn't always going to be a leisurely activity. Like sometimes you're going to look at it, you're going to say, okay, there's 700 pages and it's taken me about 3 months to get to page 216. It starts off talking about just the general things. So first it says, what is Black history? And then it even talks about Black women. There's a whole chapter on Black women, which African history in general, or just history in general, women are often left out. And getting African history is known to be a difficult thing because a lot of it has been destroyed or it's been hidden or it's just difficult to access. So then to even retrieve the Black women in antiquity was even more difficult. But then he goes on to like goes into different cultures. So this is a piece of West African art, the knock culture in Nigeria. So being Nigerian, stand up tall. What else? Yeah, some statues like this. Like this looks like our uncles, but at the end of the day, it's a realistic portrait. Do you know what I mean? So, but it's a brilliant book, and it gives you a rich sense of culture, and it helps self-esteem. So this is Angola, way back in the day, and there's a lot of myths around African people and whatnot. A lot of people think we were cavemen and whatnot, or we were swinging from trees and we were savages, but we do have a proud history, and this book taught me that. I definitely recommend it to anyone who's of African descent, even if you're not and you just want to know a bit more about Africa, you want a properly informed review, then I'd say pick it up.
So I'm going to start with a book that I read right at the start of this year. And I would say, I know the year's not out, but by far this is probably one of my favourite books that I've read this year. So it's called The Richest Man in Babylon by Charles Conrad. And it also talks about the 6 laws of wealth. So this book it's a story, essentially. It kind of tells the tale of a man who who journeys through Babylonian times, and essentially along his way and along his travels, he picks up certain lessons about how to acquire and accumulate wealth. So I'm going to run through the 6 laws of wealth really quickly. So the first one is keep more of what you earn, so saving. It also says to put your savings to work for you. The third one is get out of debt. One of the things that I really liked in this book, it said the poor pay interest and the rich charge interest. It says choose wise investments, so always research if you're going to invest in something. It also says increase your earning power, so have multiple streams of income. I think they said, I read a statistic that the average millionaire has about 7 streams of income. So. And the last one is Safeguard a Lasting Fortune. This is a fantastic book, and if you are thinking of starting to, build your wealth and, really, improve your finances, this is definitely the book to start with. This was recommended to me by my mum, so thank you, Mum. The best book I've read so far in 2016, and ultimately, I recommend this to everybody.
This book is called Pre-colonial Black Africa, and this book actually compares African civilization at its height with European civilizations and Asian civilizations and just other civilizations around the world, to see the differences and what it was like. And it's by Sheikh Anta Diop, who is a Senegalese, I think, Senegalese author. He's well known again in the Black history community, or whatever you want to call it. But this book is really good. It talks about how we had a lot of African countries had a caste system, but it wasn't a caste system in the typical sense where it's for the higher ups to exploit the poor for type of labor and stuff. The caste system worked so that those lower down could actually exploit those higher up, because they actually have money you can extort, exploit. Yeah. It talks about how civilizations changed over time, so and how we went from communal civilizations to feudal civilizations, but we never progressed onto a capitalist type of one, probably until now. Now there's big changes, big westernization going on in Africa. Communal is basically like everyone kind of shares the land type of thing. No one really. It's like one of the African constitutions apparently is that no one owns the land. And that's another book that was a good read. I'm
gonna do 2 in 1, because this one of these isn't actually. I haven't read the whole book. Basically, this book is called Future Voices from South London, and the reason why this is one of my favourite books is because I actually feature in this. So I wrote. So this is basically. What's it called? An anthology, I guess. So it's a book of poems from young students from South London schools. It was published back in 2000. And one of my poems is in here, and it's called The Future. I think I wrote it when I was about 12 or something like that. So it's not the best.
I'm not going to out to them.
No, I'm not going to do that. You can go online and buy the book. The author is Emma Marsden. Well, I say she's the author. She's the one that collected all of these poems together. So really, this book is very close to my heart, because it was my first foray into writing, and writing is actually my true passion. That's what I really enjoy. The next one is Chicken Soup for the Soul. So if you are somebody who is very, I would say, negative in terms of your thoughts around humanity and whether there really are good people out there and whether people really do good things out of the kindness of their own heart, then you should definitely read this book. It's by Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen, and it's basically a collection of stories about people doing kind things from the goodness of their heart, stories about people who are overcoming really huge personal battles but still having a positive outlook on life. And it's just really heartwarming. Some of the stories in here will make you cry. They'll make you really emotional. They'll make you really happy. They make you. It's an emotional roller coaster. I'm kind of close to halfway through, and I haven't finished it. But it's amazing. It's fantastic. It really gives you a positive outlook on life.
I'm gonna kind of dampen that mood. No, this book isn't completely dark, but this book is called Devil on the Cross by Ngugi wa Thiong'o, and this is basically a novel, and it's a young girl and she's going through a lot of troubles in her life. She got laid off her job. Her boss tried to do hanky-panky with her. A lot of things happen. She nearly gets run over. She says she's going to see her parents, and on her way there, she gets on a matatu, which is like them buses in Africa, them small little buses that always yeah. She gets on one of those with these characters, and then somebody hands her a leaflet, which is basically, it has on it the Devil's Feast. So it says, "The Devil's Feast, come see for yourself. A devil-sponsored competition to choose 7 experts in theft and robbery. Plenty of prizes, try your luck, etc., etc. Signed, Satan, the King of Hell, etc." So she gets really intrigued and she wants to go and see, like, what's this all about, this whole Devil's Feast type of thing. And I'm not going to give it away too much, but this was a brilliant read, and I rarely read novels, But I read this one. I nearly cried as well, man. I'll be honest. I nearly wept. It was a brilliant read, and it's a thing where you'll be reading it when they're in the matatu, and you'll feel like you're in there with them as well. And I gave it to my mum to read as well. She used to read this author particularly back in Uganda when she was studying. And one of the things I like about it is I found out that he wrote this book in prison while he had been locked up because his books are a bit controversial and the government wasn't trying to have him rising up to people. But for someone to write a book in prison, like, there's not many things you can draw for inspiration. You know, you can't open up a newspaper and see some stories. You can't go on the internet. I don't know if they had internet back then in Kenya, but you can't go on the internet type thing. All you have is your bed and a couple walls. That's where your brain. So, and this is a great book. One of my favorite music artists, in fact, based a whole album off of this. So,
what artist is that?
Akala.
One of my, I would say, favourite books of all time, as you guys might know, is The Secret. Now, I bought the iBooks version, but then I loved it so much that I bought the physical copy. This book, there was quite a bit of a buzz around this book on social media, and I think Instagram was the first place I came across it. And I think it was Roxy. She used to be a presenter on 106 and Park. She was reading this book, and she would post like snippets of it on her Instagram account, and I was really intrigued by some of the things I was reading. It's by an author called Rhonda Byrne, and it's basically, you could call it like a guidebook to positive thinking. So it's like a manual for all the things you can do to change the way you think and you know, ultimately change the kind of path or life that you live. Now, I've always been a Christian, so I've always very much believed in you know, my destiny and you know, God's plan for my life. But I've always been a firm believer in the fact that you have to work hard and you have to earn and prepare for the things that are in your destiny. This book was a really, I guess it kind of takes a slight deviation from that, but at the same time, I think it all ties in quite nicely. The whole premise of the book is, if you change the way you think, you change the way you live, essentially. And if you think more positively, you will attract more positive things into your life. So the whole book is about the law of attraction, and what you think about the most, you attract. So if you are constantly thinking about things that you don't like, you will attract those things that you don't like into your life. And if you constantly think about things you enjoy, then you will attract those things that you enjoy. It talks about gratitude and lots of other stuff like that as well. But if you are into that sort of book, I would definitely recommend it, and I'm sure you'll probably have heard of it before.
On a similar tone, this time, this is a very, very mainstream book, especially if anyone reads self-help books. This book gets quoted a lot. I heard it quoted, I think it was an author, Robert Greene. Yeah.
Mastery.
Maybe he quotes it Mastery or 48 Laws of Power, but okay. Any self-help book in general, The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli, who was he was basically, I don't know, it was just some dude in Venice, really and truly. I think he held many jobs, but he got exiled by a wealthy family in Venice. I think, I can't remember the name, and then he decided to write this as kind of a plea to the prince on how to be a good leader type of thing. So I think he wanted to come back, basically. Okay. And to get a gist of it, he's the guy that said it is better to be feared than to be loved. So this is basically a strategic guide on how to be a bit of a fox, I think, or a snake, and make your way to the top. But I think this book in particular is basically the blueprint for modern politics, in that, you know, you tell people one thing, you do the other, you get someone else to do the dirty work for you type of thing, and then take out that person and make yourself look like the good guy type.
So my last book is another ebook, and I know someone's going to have an opinion on that. But I think I haven't read a lot of books on relationships and dating and love and that sort of thing, but the first one I read was recommended to me by one of my subscribers, and it is The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. Fantastic book on relationships, and it talks about love in the sense that everybody has a different love language, so everybody has a different way that they want to be loved. So whether that's physical touch, gifts, words of affirmation, whatever it is, people respond to different love languages. I think it's a great book if you are newly in a relationship, if you're newly married, if you're about to get married, or if you just have a communication difficulty in your relationship, because it really helps you to understand the way in which you both communicate and know how to communicate more effectively with each other. I don't want to give too much away, and it's hard to with these books because I read them quite a little while ago, but I would say that is my current favourite book on relationships thus far, and I think it probably made quite a it helped me to have a better understanding for my now fiance and our relationship and the way in which we communicate. So we both have very different love languages, so yes, now I know if I want something, I know how to get it.
My last book, Souls of Black Folk by W.E.B. Du Bois. This book was made, I think he wrote this book like 110 years ago. And it's essentially a social commentary on Black people living in the States. I think it's probably after emancipation. I might be a bit wrong, I'm not too good with my dates, but after emancipation, so after the slave, people being on plantations is over. And this book was funny, like we don't come from slaves type of thing, like we're from Uganda, we're not from America, we haven't lived the same hardships, but there's so many lines in this that are so applicable to everyone. So there is one where he quotes one of his rivals. He basically says how he said we should be as separate as 5 fingers, but as one, as a whole hand together. And I feel like that's a powerful line. And then he also talks about how there's another quote where he says, "I fear for the day that everything is interpreted in dollars." And if there's anyone applying for university out here, or you know exactly what that line means. And it's the fact that he anticipated this thing coming and it's here now. And there's so many other things. I cried at one chapter. I'll be honest.
You get really emotional.
You gotta get invested. Even like just general dialogues that are going on today. So he talks about how there was one area where a lot of blacks were being put into prison, and he was talking about how the blacks would say that it's discrimination, and how the whites would say, well, they misbehave and maybe they deserve to be in there type of thing. And that type of dialogue is still ever present today, even more so probably. So like this book, Souls of Black Folk, even if you don't have to be from America, you don't have to come from a line of slaves to read this. Like it's a great book in general. It's Oxford World Classics, so I think that says it all. So yeah.
So that rounds up our favourite books, or current favourite books video. Hope you guys enjoyed that. And if you have any books that you guys want to recommend to us based on what you've gathered from our tastes, to leave them in the comments box down below. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. I am trying to do lots more collaborations this year and bring in lots of friends and family onto my channel so you can get an idea of the people who I roll with. Thank you to my brother Riordan for joining me on my channel today. And yes, you'll be seeing a lot more of him. We're filming another video. Follow me and Riordan on Instagram. I will leave our links in the description box below. I'm also on Snapchat and have a Facebook page, so go like it. Other than that, I will see you in my next video. Bye.
Peace.
And it's scratching a lot. Stop it. What was that?
I don't know. The next door people was like,
mate, you don't want to give the whole story anyway.
Yeah. I weep. And the ebooks already sent out. Look at the blood clap. No, I mean, look at it. Link in the description.
I'm out. I just got a breath. This is being raved about sort of everywhere and anywhere. I didn't get the eau de parfum, but probably will be next on my list to purchase. This was actually given to me as a present, a leaving gift from my last workplace. And I haven't used that much of it actually. I love the packaging. It's so sophisticated, so me basically, and I'm not saying that I'm like the most sophisticated person out there, but it's the right mix of sophisticated, girly, and just sexy. This is a